We're so happy that you could join us for yet another episode of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Today we're going to be talking about something that took place on Sunday, this past Sunday, that being the halftime show at the Super Bowl, big Super Bowl 50. I'm Phil Taylor Jones, your host, and we're going to, jump back on the football field right now. Well, Miss Beyonce Knowles decided, with the NFL that she was going to be part of the extravaganza known as Super Bowl Sunday. And she took to the field in her regular gyrating, twisting, wiggling way. Well, naturally, some people are, the types that get all excited when they see mammaries flopping about, mammary glands rather, and thighs and buttocks is jiggling and gyrating. And being a guy, I guess I too find that somewhat appealing, but in the right place. There's a place for everything and everything in its place. Now, that in and of itself was not what prompted me to do a show about it. It was the type of material that she brought to this fun type of event. The Super Bowl goers, they went there to cheer on their teams, whether they were rooting for the Broncos or whether they were rooting for the Panthers. That was the main objective of buying a ticket and getting out to the stadium. They certainly didn't go there to be bombarded with a political halftime show. Now, was she wrong for wanting to do something to pay tribute to Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and Black Lives Matter? No. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. She wasn't wrong. Was she wrong to bring it to that venue? Most definitely so. As I said, she's playing to a captive audience. People pay good money for those tickets. Good money. And they're not just going to jump up and leave because, they don't like the halftime show. So she's playing to pretty much a captive audience. That was not right. The theme of her performance was totally inappropriate. The things that she was doing were totally inappropriate. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on that because there's been a lot of material generated. There have been other shows and stuff generated about that one thing. I want to tackle this Black Lives Matter thing. When it first started, and I think it first started around the time when Trayvon Martin was killed, I looked and I said, Black Lives Matter, where'd that come from? And as it began to grow, I still couldn't get behind it. It's not something that I would get behind. And you might say, well, why? Obviously, you're black, and don't Black Lives Matter to you? Well, in my case, every life matters to me. Life is precious. But now this Black Lives Matter thing, it's something that if you're in a desperate situation, one would think of, to say Black Lives Matter, because there has been the taking of Black lives here recently. Not just recently, it's been for a long time, but I'm saying recently as far as it's come to the forefront, a little more than usual over the past, say, 5-6 years. Black Lives Matter. Well, let's go back to the early inception of Black life in America. It didn't start out very well, as you heard me say in previous shows. Didn't start out very well. We were sought out in Native Africa, and even Black lives didn't matter to the Black lives, the Black chieftains and what have you, because when the white man went over to Africa to procure slaves, they handed them some trinkets and, some cigarettes and what have you that they had never seen before, maybe a little bit of money passed hands. And they loaded up their boats with Black lives. Those Black lives were then brought over to America in a most tumultuous way, stacked in ships 4 and 5 deep, so much so that the ones on the bottom were crushed by the ones on the top, fed the most distasteful of food and water that was filthy, and then trooped off the boats like so many cattle to be put on a town display for sale. And then they would go home with their slave masters and again be relegated to a most horrid life. Black Lives Matter? They never really have. So, I'm trying to figure out where did this come from? Was it an act of desperation, or did someone actually think it through? I'm thinking maybe it was an act of desperation. You wanted to strike out against the establishment because you were tired of seeing black folks being brutally killed by, rogue policemen. Now, let me start out by saying again, to the many police officers out there that are honest-hearted in what they're doing, and we know that there are many of you, we thank you for doing your job to keep us safe and keep us protected. I think our American police officers are among the finest in the world at doing so. And we thank you once more and give you many kudos. But as we know, there is a breakdown in every good thing. There's an element of bad in it. And to those rogue officers who don't even deserve to be called officers, that are making the real officers look bad by their actions, you are the ones that are perpetuating all this Black Lives Matter stuff, because you're going around killing black folks at the drop of a hat. Now, the Black Lives Matter has taken to the streets. Their status quo, or their modus operandi, is going around disrupting things. They disrupted people during Christmas by going into malls. They disrupt police commission hearings and things of that sort. They disrupt the streets and the freeways. They disrupt everything with their shouting and chanting and marching and signs and all of this business. Okay, well, you might say, well, Phil, that's what people did back in the 60s. Yeah, they did that back in the 60s, but it meant something. It was organized. They had a goal, and they worked toward it. The boycott they held back there in Alabama with Martin King and Rosa Parks, those black brothers and sisters, they were resolute. They were solid, man. They did not ride the buses. And it wasn't a matter of just not riding the buses. Some of them were trying to be forced to ride the buses. They would be beaten. When they had their own little carpools, they tried to bust that up. But the black folks held their ground. The boycott held, and that's why it was successful. You look at what's going on today, just a bunch of ragtag people running around in the streets talking about what they want. How's that working out for you? They're still killing black folks. There's still not a great, shall we say, respect for black folks as a whole, partially, in fact, because of things like Black Lives Matter. You're going around acting like a fool, hooping and hollering, disrupting things, going into venues that really, you shouldn't even be there. People are trying to shop and get their business taken care of. They don't need to be bombarded with your political stuff. Okay. Well, Phil, we still need to get something done. We're being mistreated. Look at the Oscars. We're left out of the Oscars. All of this stuff. We're not being treated well by white folks, yada, yada. Okay, I've heard it. I'm 57 years old. I've heard it all before. And I'll probably hear it again. But here's what I say. Black Lives Matter shouldn't be a movement. It should be an institution. Miss Knowles, in her little halftime performance, she evoked the name Malcolm X. Well, if you really want to be like Malcolm X, I remember one of the things he said, and I understood why he said it. He said, instead of acting like a bunch of black fools running around acting stupid, why don't we build something for ourselves? We have nothing. White folks got it all. They got the newspapers, they got the television stations, they got the radio stations, they got the transportation departments, they got the grocery stores, they've got the cleaners, they've got the architectural firms, they've got the building firms. Everything that we possibly use or utilize is owned and operated by the white folks. So why didn't you do something like that, Miss Knowles? You got more money than God, you and your drug dealer husband turned rapper. So here's the thing. You want Black Lives Matter? You're not going to get them to matter by running around in the street wearing out your shoes, wasting up cardboard and wooden sticks and magic markers or paint. That's not the way you're going to do it. You're going to make Black Lives Matter by finance, because that's what everybody understands. That's what matters to everybody. Green matters. BLM, Black Lives Matter. Why don't we turn that into an institution? We've got a lot of smart black folks out there that have graduated from MIT, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, UCLA, USC, any fine college or university that you can think of all across this great nation. There have been smart black folks out there graduating magna cum laude. There are black folks that are very rich black folks. Oprah Winfrey is one of them. Denzel Washington. A lot of sports figures. Political figures, if you want to throw them muckety-mucks in there. Engineering. From every walk of life. I find it very strange. Let's just say 20 years ago, 20 short years ago, any ethnicity, nationalist, or whatever that comes across our borders and settles in this country has excelled, has built up business, has built up industry, has taken a stake in this country that cannot and will not be denied. Black folks have been here for at least 200 years, and we're still complaining about what the white man isn't giving us, or we're being treated unfairly, or the cops are killing us. It's time to stop whining. It's time to start building. If you feel you're being treated unfairly, then create your own game. Oh, the police are beating us, they're killing us. There's something called security guards. There's something called private eyes. There's something called lawyers. And black people fill all of those three niches. And if you don't, start filling them. Get the licenses, get the guard cards, get the certification that you need to form a Black Lives Matter security firm. In every state, in every city where there's a police department, there could be a BLM security systems. And every time the police officer's foot moves, BLM security systems move. Are you going to interfere with the police officer's work? No, but you're going to be there to chronicle everything they do. Or, if black folks know that this is out there, instead of calling the police where there's a question, call your Black Lives Matter security and take care of your problems. Let it be handled in such a way that it outshines the police department. Then maybe they'll sit up and say, oh, yeah, Black Lives Matter. They got their own thing going. You don't like it because the Academy Awards passes you over because there's, about 94 white guys and white women in there, and they choose the films? Make your own. BLM. Ebony Awards. Showcase your own movies and theatrical works. Oh, well, every time you look at a commercial, there's like 5 or 6 whites and only 1 black person. Get your own production company going. Miss Oprah Winfrey did it. And why aren't you opening up that to fellow black aspiring artists, Miss Oprah? There's enough money from black folks if they put it all in together. I'm not saying one person should finance it, but if you put it in together, you could start to build. Just like that little game called, Minecraft? They take little blocks and they keep building until they build a whole city. They build a whole nation starting with one little block. Okay, one little drop in the bucket. Pretty soon the bucket's full. If all the black folks put in just $1 in this country, GoFundMe or some kind of funding like they have for emergencies and things, $1 from every black person in this country, we would have enough to get things going for ourselves. BLM, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter Automotive. You're producing cars now. Cars that would rival Ford, Chevy, or Ford General Motors, and Chrysler. And any crap that would come from across the border from any other land, or the stuff that's basically made here by foreigners. Black Lives Matter. Automotive. You design them, you build them, you sell them. And make them compatible and competitive with anything that's out there. From the fastest supercar to the most miserly gas-sipping economy car. Safe and practical. It can be done. Black Lives Matter. Aviation, aeronautics, aerospace. Make it happen. Get money together, get people together, and make something for yourselves and stop whining about stuff. Yeah, back during the slavery times, there was a big production of cotton. And white folks, they were trying to figure out how to get it all separated so they could boost their bottom line. Well, Eli Whitney, that Black Lives Matter, because he invented the cotton gin. The cotton production went through the roof. But it went through the roof helping one race and not the race of the guy who invented it. You want Black lives to matter, you've got to show how they matter. Not by word, by action. Not by marching up and down the street wearing out your shoe leather, but by action. One thing at a time. BLM food stores, where you're selling the finest production of meats and vegetables and dairy anywhere in this country. BLM productions, movies, television, music, commercials, game shows, reality shows. That's when Black lives will start to matter, when those Black lives start creating green, so much so that the ones who belittled you or mistreated you or overlooked you are now scratching their heads and knowing now that Black lives matter, because they see it. They see it in the vein that the BLM movement or institution now has made $1 trillion and they've only made 455 billion. You see where I'm going with this? Interrupting a Super Bowl is ignorant. It doesn't get your message across. Having a bunch of scantily clad women holding up their fists and talking about somebody was killed by the police. Who cares? The people you're trying to impress do not care. With your permission, I'll say that again. They do not care. Now, am I saying that every Caucasian person is racist and don't care? No, I didn't say that at all. There are many Caucasian folks out there, white folk, who couldn't care less about your color. If they're going to be your friend, they're going to be your genuine, total friend. I know lots of people like that. both in this country and across the pond. They don't care about how black I am. They're my friends. But there are others. Like I said, for every good thing, there's an evil, tangent. So those are the ones I'm talking about. The racist ones. They don't even have black tires on their cars. They got white walls. They're so prejudiced. You think you're going to change their minds because you go and do a halftime football show or a halftime show? They don't care about you and your black life. Your life doesn't matter to them. But I bet your life would matter to them if you're excelling and bringing in those big bucks while they're not. So that's what black lives need to start doing. They need to start getting together. They need to start, meeting with people that have money, black folks. And we need to start building something for ourselves. We've got nothing in this country. The Hispanics have come up a long way. These Asians have come over here and prospered. Look at these muzzies, what you talk so much about and complain about. They've got the attention of the nation. They're offended by something, it stops. They want to wear their hijabs and burqas. They wear them. Case in point, I was listening to Telly the other day. But this wasn't a muzzy, it was a Sikh. He had on his turban, and he wanted to board, I think it was a Mexicana airliner to come here. And he wouldn't take off his turban so that they could search, for the security check. They wouldn't let his behind on the plane. He got pissed. They didn't care. See, that's down there in Mexico. Here, oh, okay, Mr. Siki, you can go on through. They command. Now, I hate to break it down to its lowest common denominator, but look at ISIS. And look at how far they've come in such a short time. Back when old man Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, was in office, we had to deal with whom? Al-Qaeda. Now, today, you barely even hear of Al-Qaeda. It's ISIS, or ISIL, or IS, or the self-proclaimed Islamic State. And they're everywhere. Why? Because they fund themselves. They even have their own type of currency. They recruit. They get things done, as heinous as they are. But black folks in this country that have been here almost since its inception, 200 years at least, and it doesn't seem like we've moved very far from that period of time. We're still complaining about what the white folks aren't doing, what the white folks aren't getting. There's an old saying, you never forget where you came from. And like everybody around the country, when these big jackpots and things come up, and even, just the regular standard jackpots, if I ever hit, I'd be glad that I got out from under. But I wouldn't forget the brothers and sisters that are still back there, under there. What is wrong with doing this? I made it come along with me. Every something comes into this country, sticks together, and prospers and advances. Black folks stay stagnant and complain. Turn Black Lives Matter from a movement and turn it into an institution. Turn it into something that will show that Black Lives Matter. Turn it into something that will be strong, resolute, in which you can excel anything that currently exists. Muhammad Ali did it. Michael Jordan did it. Michael Jackson did it. Serena Williams does it. Excel. When she steps onto that tennis court, they know that Black Lives Matters because they don't want to go up against her. When Michael Jackson stepped on the stage, they knew that his Black Lives mattered because there was nobody in the world that could do what he did. And he did it to death. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dr. Julius Erving, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. All of these Black Lives mattered. Thurgood Marshall, that Black life mattered. So we need to stop marching up and down the street, interrupting people's lives, including our own people out there trying to shop and do things, and put this action into something that means something. Now, if Knowles had have just went out there and did her little dance and then her little show like everybody else, probably nobody would have any qualms about it. Just a pretty girl dancing and gyrating and, doing a little football. You got to be a football hero thing. And go on off the stage and let them start playing football again. But to bombard somebody with a political, with political innuendo to attract audience, no good, no good. It's only going to make Black lives not matter. So, you folks out there with that Black Lives Matter stuff need to rethink your strategy, because how's it working for you? It's not. Police are still out there killing black folks. Some of them, the rogue ones that are really, kind of crummy. You're still being overlooked in almost every walk of life. So, how long are you going to sit there and take it? All of you rich black folk that's got means. You got the means. You certainly got the motive. Now you need to take the opportunity. Get a coalition together. Find a way to fund it. Go to the Fund Me thing. Ask every black person in the country to send $1. Every black person can afford $1. That $1 connected with another dollar, connected with another dollar, ends up to be billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. And you can make things happen. Then Black Lives Will Matter. We thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. We thank you, as always, for all your wonderful comments and well wishes. We do so enjoy them. And we're happy that you can join us anytime on these little adventures. And we invite you to come along with us again next time right here on the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Thank you. Bye-bye.